gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
Just making that little title card with the box.
Oh my God, it was hysterical. I was having coffee and I spewed it. So it's good. I like the humor. You have to have humor because the shit show that we're in when we're stuck in the matrix, you know, it's like those fuckers are playing the long game. So if we get upset and get crazy and we fall into despair, they win.
Hi everyone, welcome to VéritéOuConséquences.com, a website dedicated to spreading crucial information about truth, freedom, objective morality, and natural law. Today, my special guest is Marja West, the greatest Hunny Bunny of all Hunny Bunnies. Hi Marja, how are you?
Hi, sweetheart. I'm very good. Thank you for having me. And I'm having actually a margarita. So
Awesome. Awesome. It's just juice, but it's gonna do it.
I have mezcal in here, so it's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing.
Good, taking good note of that. Yeah, so we met through a few months ago. You know, I will never forget the way we met because it was through, of course, Mark Passio, my guiding star. When, you know, it was a magical moment when I received that message from Leah, his assistant, saying, Mark wants you in on the One Great Word Network, and we're going to have a meeting soon. I fell off my chair completely because, you know,
right?
I was only 6 months into that motherfucker. And you know, you know, I had really humble beginnings, and the fact that Mark noticed my work and, you know, saw that I was trying to convey that message to a French audience, you know, I felt awesome. And I remember
and the
that
French have been very good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They have
been very good in terms of you know, just really putting forth and defending America at the beginnings. And of course, right. You know, we've got our ongoing shit shows that have like absolutely buried a lot of those beginnings. So yeah.
That's right. So yeah, I was meeting, I think it was in November. And then I saw, you know, I saw you. I was like, who's that gorgeous lady with that beautiful Russian fur hat? I was like, oh my goodness. And then since then, you know, I followed your show and Truth, Love and Beauty. Of course, I think now you're 116th episode or around. So
I just filmed 117 today and just uploaded it just a few minutes ago on the YouTube because, you know, I'm trying to keep that schedule and, you know, and then doing it very low tech. Very, very low tech. My first channel, I had one for like 8 years and it was completely deplatformed in 2015 because I went too far. And yeah, they just completely just said, no, bitch, you're over. That's it. As if you were never there. And it was frightening, you know.
You remove everything.
Everything.
No notice.
It was over 1,200 videos. At that point, it was still a small channel considering that it was 8 years old. So 100, I think maybe 102,000 subscribers, but this is something that you build and you get it monetized and you get it to a point. And then I was pushing it. I just kept pushing up against the satanic cabal, as it were. And that was it. They wrecked my shit. You know, it's like, all of your donations, your income, your monetization, it's gone, leveled, you know.
Yeah, I know now that you're on many platforms. You're on IGTV, library.
I know, I'm just trying to do it. And it was frightening because after that, nobody would talk to me. Like all of my colleagues in the Truth and Free, no one would talk to me. Everybody was afraid to speak to me. And it was actually 3 years later that Freeman Fly was the first person who reached out to me and said, okay, let's do it. And it's so funny because we do the interview, he uploads it on iTunes and he gets demonetized. Like, and so is it because of me?
Well,
so our interview never got on his YouTube, you know, and I'm just like, oh God, you know, it's like the kiss of death. Do not touch that woman. She will fuck your shit up, you know? So it's like, you know, whatever. And so it took me quite a number of years to start the new channel. I started it last year at the beginning of 2020. And like, okay, I'm going to do this. It's not going to be high tech. It's not going to be fancy. I have my little teeny iPhone and I just bing, hit record.
simple. But that's it. That's, you know, your show is authentic. It's real. It's there's emotion. I really love your
Thank
vibe,
you.
and it's so
Thank you
fun
so
to watch. And you know, there's a question that's been going through my
Yes.
mind since I've watched my show. Well, I have a lot of questions, but this one in particular, since the first day I met you, you know, and I looked and I searched for this answer everywhere, science everywhere. So I'm gonna ask it. So how can you fit such a gigantic soul in such a tiny body? I couldn't find the answer
my God.
anywhere. I couldn't
No.
find the answer.
Rumor has it that I was actually 3 weeks late. I was actually due September 30th. I didn't want to come out. And probably for good reason, because
Yeah,
my
I'm
upbringing
comfortable
was,
here.
oh, it's a shit show. It was a shit show. I was actually raised by a man-hating psychopath. So you can't even imagine the sort of sensitivity that I had with this person who just hated me, hated everything about me, wasn't into being a mother, just, you know, and I would chase her around as a little girl. Why won't you love me, mommy? And I thought my mother was beautiful. Like I would look at her and go, she's so pretty. She's so pretty. And she wouldn't give me the time of day. So the way she dealt with me was providing piano lessons, violin lessons, gymnastics, dance, martial arts. She provided a lot of outlets for me to unleash the sort of, like, I have a lot of energy and I don't know where I get it, to tell you the truth. I've ruined every relationship that I've ever had because of this energy. And so my way, and I guess my mother's way of dealing with it, which in any situation, I always tell people, even if it's a shit show, you have to find the benefits and the advantage of these situations. Like, what is it cultivating? And for me, it cultivated a lot of, I learned how to do a lot of shit. I learned how to play the guitar, the piano. I learned how to sing. I learned how to do flips, backflips, and all that kind of stuff, how to kick ass and be able to bring down a 6'2" man in 4 moves, you know, and do all this like really, really fun shit. But what I didn't get is that I didn't get the love of my mama. And my father was completely out of the picture. So I didn't have that either. And so I think what ends up happening is that you start searching. So, and one of the searchings that I did was to travel. It's like I had the travel bug early on. So I've been to many places. Many of these places, they don't speak English. There's nobody that I know. And you just have to explore and check shit out. I put myself in a lot of dangerous situations and somehow managed to meet up with people who saw what was happening. They're like going, Chica, no, you don't want to go there. Or, you know, being in Egypt and looking for a taxi cab after I come out of the airport, you know, and this old man going, no, oh, over here. And, you know, these other the other taxi cab drivers are just salivating because you know what's up. What's up is there's a lot of trafficking that happens, especially with young women. And when I was young, I was very flippant. I would travel and do stupid things wearing a white tube top, white hip hugger pants and chuckles, and thinking, but I'm an American. I can do whatever the fuck I want. It's stupid. It's, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, to get in people's faces, that I'm going to do what I want to do. I am American. I can do, and an American in that I was an immigrant and had to learn how to speak English, how to learn how to like kind of float in and out, but also understanding that, it's not quite what you think it is, and the world isn't quite what you think it is. And I realized that early on when I was a child, that there was definitely a divine sense of being, but there was also what I call the world, the matrix, the shit show that tries to tell you who you are and who you aren't based on a mommy's love, or based on the acceptance of school, based on the acceptance of, whatever
traumas that you have.
What exactly. Yes. So I saw that, and there was a lot of abuse and suffering in my upbringing, and a very clear pathway that I was not one of the wanted people. So I spent a lot of time on my own. I spent a lot of time in my head, creating a lot of things, creating music, drawing, painting, journaling was my friend. And I think for the most part, though, even though I was doing these things, my heart was broken, because I felt so disconnected, not just from my mother, but also seeing the world and like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Why are we so mean? And during the time when I was growing up, the 60s, I was born in the late 50s. So the 60s was all about Vietnam, was all about, the sort of hijacking of the peace movement, of the love movement, and learning something was off. And my favorite nanny babysitter was this woman, Marina, who was in the Haight-Ashbury. And so she would like tell me all these things. And as a child, I didn't know exactly what she was talking about, but I kind of got it, that you need to live life not from this very myopic or this very narrow pathway. You have to expand yourself, and you have to constantly question reality. And so that's what I did with my, why? And, it's just like, no, I don't want to hear questions. Stop it. So, and I think being small too, you get shoved around, or people want to shut you up, or they want to just, like, I can remember being grabbed by the scruff of my neck like a cat and kind of being tossed because I was small enough to do that, and thinking, who does that? Like, I would never even do that to a cat, let alone another human being. And so I think that created this sort of drive for me to sort of, like, whenever I got reprimanded, which was quite a lot, if I had a good time, bam, I was laughing too loud, or I was too loud, and I get that a lot. I'm loud. I am. And it's not because I'm a loudmouth. It's because I'm very passionate about what it is that I'm sharing. And when I'm excited, And so, and I don't want to apologize for that. So I used to apologize all the time. And then I remember being still very young and thinking, why am I apologizing? And I realized, if I keep apologizing for stuff that I'm not doing, when I really do something badly, am I gonna like not apologize? So I was always thinking ahead, like, what does this all mean? And just kind of watching people's motivations and watching their energy. So I was very acutely aware of like the energy fields. And so I started wearing glasses when I was 3. And I used to think that what I saw in terms of, like, I see light beings. I see them now. I'm pretty sure you see them as well. And it's like, I thought everybody saw that. And I remember just talking about it. And when I was at the eye doctor's and telling him what I was seeing, and, you know, he's just kind of looking at me like, okay,
Get
okay,
this security.
yeah, security. We need to probably electroshock this little girl because she's a little crazy. And then I have had people along the way through the course of my upbringing who were kind enough and aware enough to really see what was going on. And they would tell me to just be myself, bring it under the wire so that it didn't draw attention to myself, and just really trust my gut feelings, trust the intuition, trust the feelings that if it feels off, it's because it is off. And, you know, I mean, who trains us for that? No one.
That's right. Our goal on earth is to discover our true self.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
most people won't even, you know, scratch the surface of discovering themselves. So
yeah, exactly. And so as far as the energy goes, at the point when I was 5 or 6, I actually was put on Ritalin, which is, you know, it's about hyperactivity because I was hyper, but I wasn't hyper. I just was curious. I wanted to know things. I remember feeling the energy in my body just so much. I remember going out, you know, I loved being outside and moving my body and, you know, just feeling the air up against my skin was just like the most exquisite thing. I would feel like I would burst in all directions. And they were trying to like actually try to contain that. And I remember being given this pill, and I remember taking it, and I remember the sort of feeling of receding, my consciousness receding and falling back. And I just went, I'm not taking this. But I was very smart. I pretended to take it every morning, and I put it in the philodendron plant that was in the family room of the house. And I'll be damned if that plant, it went everywhere. It was all over the ceiling, it was all over the walls, and nobody caught on. But I acted as if I was just like, yeah, let me just go along with this program, because it was much easier for me to just kind of like go along rather than pushing up against what was going on. Because if I did, it just meant a lot of physical abuse. So quite often it would be hot days, I'd have bruises, and I would have to like cover those up with tights and that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of it is when you are when you're growing up in a very toxic and very combative household, you learn how to manage your energy and also how to go stealth. So I started imagining myself to like go invisible. I know that sounds silly, and it was a silly game that I used to play where I would just pretend. I would pretend that I was invisible, or that I was, you know, raising my energy so that they couldn't find me. And a lot of times it worked, you know. And I don't know if I was just kind of, you know, hopefully getting away with it or getting on with it, but it was a good strategy. And, you know, so I teach this strategy. And I think it was like my first lessons in owning your attention so that you exit the matrix and you create what it is that you want to create, rather than stay in this prison cell where everybody is down on you and there's no way out except to conform and to get beaten down and have yourself hammered into compliance, you know.
You see that a lot with kids today. You know, there's No,
Oh,
no wonder why there's so many ADHD
yeah,
cases. It's
yeah,
just that these kids have so
yeah,
much energy and they just
yeah.
sit
And they're
there and
not
watch TV,
being dealt with. They are not being engaged by the
Exactly.
parents. Their parents are too distracted. And and that's the trouble with the Matrix, is that the Matrix, the world, and I always tell people, the world is not the planet. Okay, the planet is our organic creation field. The world is the Matrix. And it is constantly trying to tell us who we are, who we aren't, based on our alliances, based on our little echo chambers where we get agreements. I always tell people, yeah, it's great that you get agreements and you go to these conferences where everybody's on the same page. Try to go somewhere where everybody fucking hates you. And so that was the sort of field, the Matrix field that I resided in, where everybody was against me. Nobody appreciated what I had to offer. Everybody thought I was insane, or everybody thought that I was just, I didn't know what I was talking about, because I was not in the sort of echo chambers that a lot of my classmates, a lot of my friends, a lot of my neighbors, a lot of my family members, they're all kind of stuck here, that left, right, center paradigm. And,
But all these negative events, I guess, made you stronger and stronger, made you the
yeah,
woman you are today,
yeah.
Uh,
You learn
so,
to not give a shit whether you are getting agreement or not. It allows me to stand alone. Like, I hate groups, because even the groups that have the best intention and the best intention of wokeness, eventually they turn into their complete opposites, and they're echo chambers, and there's some psychopath that's leading it, and all the psychopaths are just like bowing, never questioning them. So I'm usually the outsider, always looking in, so I associate with some really, really great groups. But do I align and am I part of it? Not necessarily, because I don't like that. Because that in of itself, it becomes a construct of reality once again. And I always suggest to people that, when you're doing this kind of content creation, you have to learn how to stand on your own. You got to learn how to be on a podium with everybody telling you to shut the fuck up.
that's
Or
right.
everybody telling you that's bullshit. And so years ago, this is so funny. Years ago, when in the sort of 80s, there was all the sort of like the channeling events. And so I got into it a little bit, because I was bringing in some really interesting energies, and I realized what I was tapping into. This is hindsight. I'm tapping into the sort of universal mind that is really connecting this. It's our minds of what is known and what is yet to be known. Okay, so it's really the quantum field universe. So I started tapping into that, and so I would have these once a month meetings, and I was living in San Francisco, so I would rent this thing, and it was a donation. People would put in pennies. I shit you not. It's like, whatever. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. But there was this guy that came in. His name was Bart, and so I just stream of consciousness stuff. Never anything was planned. And you'd hear in the background, here's Bart, that's bullshit, man. And he would just boom this. And it was enough to get me laughing, because it's just so funny. You can't take any of it seriously. And so we would have these discussions about it over coffee. And it was just really, really, really fun. And it was a good way to like talk about stuff, talk about music, talk about natural law, talk about the whole thing of doing no harm to yourself. What does that mean? Because it first starts with you.
Right.
It starts with you. You have to be able to, like, yeah, well, what am I doing to myself? What are your beliefs aligning with? I mean, do you even know what your beliefs are aligning with? So we talked about all that kind of stuff, and it was actually really, really, really cool. And eventually I passed on the baton because I started getting really, really busy. And, you know, when you're raising kids too, that's a whole other ball of wax, because there's so much pulling at you and grabbing your attention. And for me, having the shitty upbringing, where no one engages you except to try to shut you up or try to put you in a corner. When I was raising my stepkids, it's like I made it my priority to be there for them, and to not be distracted. And so I think when you learn to own your attention and you exit the matrix and you start waltzing in and out of the matrix. And what is waltzing in and out of the matrix? It's your attention. You own your attention, and so you can waltz in and out undetected. You can deal with your daily life. You can actually have good relationships with people because you're conscious about what it is that you're doing. And if you don't like it, you can actually have a conversation because you're not on autopilot, and you're not you know, sort of capitalizing on these relationships. Oh, it's man and woman relationship are just going to fuck it up because it's fucked up anyway. And because that's the trouble with all the shit in the matrix, is that these are prefabricated scripts and programs,
Right.
and you have to obey them. And people do it automatically. And, you know, when you ask people, well, why did you do? Because that's just what we do. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
and
that's lazy.
I want to hit people when I
irresponsible.
hear that shit, you know?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really irresponsible, you know, to a lot of people, they don't care. You know, a lot of people talk about care, and
Yeah,
we
it's
see
like,
that.
what does that mean? What
They
does
don't
that
give a
mean
fuck. It
exactly?
means that they don't give a fuck about
Yeah, they don't
anything
care.
else but themselves. And
Yeah.
even because, you know, you said it has to start with you. You know, if you don't love yourself, you don't know yourself, you cannot know
Yeah.
the world, you cannot love the world, you
Yeah.
cannot love
Very
anybody
true.
else. So because you talk a lot about you know, the narcissists, and I relate a lot to that because I've been in 2 relationships with borderline personality disorder women.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and these 2 disorders are not identical, but you know, there's a lot of overlapping symptoms, and both, you know, have pattern of very unstable relationships, and I suffered a lot. And
Oh,
listening to
yeah.
you talking about these disorder really, you know, still helped me. I'm still healing, you know, after these years of, because I went really, really low in my self-esteem, you know,
Yeah.
living
Yeah.
with these
And that's
people.
what it's meant to do, because they're blood-sucking parasites is what they are.
That's it.
And when you're in a relationship with them, you are actually their energy supply, whether it's emotional, energetic, psychic, financial, whatever it is. And that's what they do. And they move from one thing to the other to the other. So that their whatever's wrong with them doesn't ever get resolved, because they don't have to resolve it. They'll just move on to the next innocent person. And you know, just witnessing that alone out in the world, I mean, look who runs the world. They're just,
Clearly.
yeah.
Clearly. And I know, you know, because I've been with 2 women, and successful, you know, not in succession, one
Yes.
after the other.
Yes.
So, you know, when I was with the other girl was BPD, you know, I was like, oh my God, it's me, the problem, because I'm attracted, or you know, I want to be the savior, and
Yes,
I want to save these people.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
I was like, I'm the problem, and it made me realize it was a really big turning point in my life, you know, after when I went to all these 2 relationships, and I was clearly not the same after that.
Yes.
Clearly not the same.
Yes.
It was one of the most turning point in my life,
Yes. Yeah.
for sure.
And And what you're learning is you're learning about and finding the advantages and finding the benefits of that. You're learning how to love yourself,
Right.
you know, by really owning this responsibility of who you let into your inner sphere. And I know for myself, you know, I've been doing this work for such a long time, and yet, you know, I fell for, I was targeted. I was targeted about over 15 years ago by somebody who actually studied me for a couple of years before he made his move, and found my weakness. So my weakness is children because of my upbringing. And everybody knows this. I've been teaching online since 2003. So, you know, I was one of the first people actually teaching online through the phone, whatever. And so anybody who's followed my work from there, it was really all about the welfare of children and being there for children. So this person actually knew which buttons to push for me. And I was also a musician at that point, and doing the singer-songwriter thing. And I would create this whole sort of show around not just my work, but also the music. And so the music was very obnoxious in terms of, you know, just outing Goobermans and the Satanic Cabal and all that shit. I was in it. I was just, I was so in it. I was just constantly pushing up against it and telling people where my gate is for, I mean, just like, whoa. I had no sense of privacy because I wanted to be so transparent. But what that does is that it opens you up for NSP abuse. So the narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, they're looking for a happy meal, a happy life, you know, and having grown up in so much misery and disappointment, you know, I never wanted to be the disappointer or the, you know, the cause of people's misery. So I made myself just like completely available and knowingly submitting myself. And I say submit, it was more sort of this devotional choice that I'm going to be with this person because I love his child. And in the end, it was that child who actually let me off the hook and just flat out told me, you know, it's not a good guy, and you're off the hook. You can let it go now. And you know, when your stepchild tells you that you need to change the locks and you never let him into your house again, that's business, man. That's like straight up truth from an 11-year-old.
His own progeny,
Yeah.
warning somebody else, you know, I'm his progeny, I cannot run away, but you can, so please do it.
Yeah.
That's terrible though.
Really awful. And,
yeah.
and you know, and it was a choice. It was a choice because there was a point where I realized, okay, this is what's going on, and be willing to sacrifice it, you know. And I think that is part of what I don't like about a lot of the new age bullshit. A lot of the sort of new thought is that, you know, if you have to sacrifice something, that you're not doing it right, that we have this carte blanche of just having everything come to us if you're doing the law of attraction correctly. It's like, I want to smack people because that is not how it works. It doesn't work that way. I mean, there are definitive sacrifices that we make for the greater good, and you have to compose the reality of what it is that you are really intending to do. And if it's for the welfare of a child, that child comes first. But you also have to take care of yourself first. In other words, like, you know, put your oxygen mask on first and then deal with everybody else. Okay. And, you know, sometimes it means taking a hit, taking the bullet. And that's certainly been part of my part of my kind of life is being able to withstand the sort of evils of human nature. You know, the very worst of the worst of the behaviors in women and the behaviors of men. So that has been my realm, just in terms of my own life experiences, so that I have the capacity to hold a space for the people that I'm mentoring, for the people that work with me, to unwind their own trauma-based mind control, because I'm not going to be effective if I cannot set aside my revulsion and my reactivity and my, oh, this is so fucked up. I'm not going to be an effective facilitator of deactivating all those programs if I don't have my shit deactivated myself, you know. And I think too many of the so-called healers, mentors get stuck in their own hype and actually cannot set aside their shit and actually be there to hold conscious space and to be able to like move and change the energy and to be able to teach people how to wake up and own their attention, you know.
Yeah, I remember one of the episode you mentioned, there was this guy, a really famous healer, I think, and he really went on a rant on you, and then you really fought back, and I really like that episode. And you mentioned the notebooks, you know, and it's funny because I really loved the interview you did with Bootsy Greenwood. It was so funny, and
love Bootsy. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's funny, and one of the thing, you know, you mentioned there, you put notebooks everywhere in your car. I don't know, maybe in the washrooms, everywhere, notebooks in your purse. I know.
Here we go. Here we go. And like, right, I know it's everywhere.
But that's good, because I try to do that also as much as possible. You know, when you write something, it really helps to make it happen. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's part of our manifestation magic, because when you write it, it's like people don't realize you are the magic creation wand. You, yourself, in your body, that's what's being activated, you know. And when you own your attention, you create it in the organic creation field, the actual organic creation field, not in the matrix. Because, and you can check this out for yourself. I know you can. When you try to create in the matrix, what happens? We are subject to all of the automated scripts and programs, all the various film reels of all the shit shows going on. Your programming, your mom's programming, your dad's programming, you know, the programming of whatever. It's active, and you can't change it. It's already, because usually when we're stuck in the matrix, we are responding to what we see in the current screen of reality. And this is what I don't like about New Age book, The Power of Now. Fuck off with the power of now, okay? The power of now is a done deal. You cannot change it. So if you're trying to change reality based on what's going on now in the outer screen, it's already past. You can't change the past. You can only intend for the upcoming frame that's coming up. In other words, in reality creation, what is not yet seen is the leading edge of materialization. And that's out of the matrix. And you have to intend it. You got to know what you're doing. And I think that's what annoys me about a lot of the groups. I mean, there's the truth and freedom and sovereignty groups that know how to wield reality, know how to wield reality creation. And then they're what I call the truthers. You know, I mean, they're full of shit. You know, it's like, oh, you just want to go on and on about governments being slavery. That is one fucking infinitesimally small thing about the matrix. That is not the great work right fucking there. And people getting in my face because I don't talk about it. It's like, dude, are you kidding? I found out about that shit in the fucking 60s. All right. These people have a long game. You know, I can't focus in on that. That's not my thing. You know,
yeah, it's really a grain of salt, you know, in the whole.
It's a grain of salt. Totally. Like, and is it important? Absolutely, it is important. But you can't get stuck there. And too many people are stuck there, you know, and I was stuck there.
Yeah. And when you're stuck there, you feed it with the energy.
Exactly. And it continues. It continues on.
Right. That's
and
right.
On and on and on.
That's right. One of the things you said on that Bootsy Greenwood interview, and you didn't really put much into detail, but I really want you to expand a little. You said, I'm not a bitch, but I'm an asshole. and I don't really fully understand the difference. So I don't know if you can explain a little.
Okay. So the archetype of bitch, okay, for me, and I teach this in Masculine Feminine 101. So what it is, and I have been personally attacked for this shit, where I've had women come after me and actually assault me physically, like either hit me, push me down, spit on me, call me a traitor to women, because, and it's a misunderstanding on them, because what they don't understand is a lot of the bitchy behavior that is very masculine. Okay. And that's the thing.
Yeah. Bitchy is masculine.
Yeah. So when you call, when women are called bitches, it's because they are expressing unconscious masculine energy in their behavior. Okay. Whereas being an asshole has no gender. Okay. It's just, everybody's got one. Okay. We don't know if it's male or female, whatever. So that's where I go. But getting back to the bitch, I try to make it humorous because it's so fucking absurd that people don't understand this. And a lot of women, unfortunately, especially the ball-busting, angry, fake feminists that want to generalize men, that because men have penises, they're, you know, inherently, they're all rapists. I mean, that is as fucked up and stupid as saying believe all women. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing is, from what I understand in all my research of the Satanic Cabal, I hear the leader of the Satanic Cabal is a woman. So, and as women, we are the gateways to conscious presence on the planet, out of the matrix. And so if you are exhibiting this aggressive, cunty, bitchy behavior where you want to cart off all men because you haven't integrated your daddy and mommy issues and your own integration of the inner masculine and feminine. What is the masculine energy? Masculine energy, Mark Passio talks about this. This is the active principle. Okay. It's the principle of being able to defend yourself. It is the also active stillness, that you don't make moves unless it's inspired. And if you're not inspired, then you are in stillness, whether it's meditation, whether it is in contemplation, but you're fully aware of what's going on. Okay. Whereas what is the feminine? The feminine is the receptive principle. She is magnetic. She is allowing. And here's the thing that a lot of the feminists hate about me is that, you know, they talk about motherhood as being a curse and it's awful and it's so unappreciated. Well, guess what? The act of nurturing is a masculine trait. Why? Because you are extending energy from your heart to outside of yourself toward a cause or another person. Whereas the feminine principle is the receptive principle. You are receiving back. Okay. So when I teach this, these women, they get so fucking pissed. They get pissed because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear that they have emasculated their own masculine by cutting off their ability to make decisions. Okay, because when you weaponize your victimhood, and you say, oh, I'm so oppressed by men, I'm so oppressed by white men, fucking nonsense, bullshit, you know. And people can list out all the stuff that white men did, but at the end of the day, it's on you. I mean, do you actually believe that? I mean, can you actually prove that? Of course not. You can't. You know, you can come up with all sorts of bullshit to pretend, but it's not true. And so what I try to teach men and women, males and females, is that we have a being and we got a doing energy within each and every one of us. And we have to balance that out. I know when I was learning this for myself, I actually, back in the 90s, when I was living in Silicon Valley, I worked with Michael Tsarian. And Michael Tsarian, I don't remember how I found him, but he was doing tarot readings and archetypal tarot. So I, for a couple of years, had sessions with him. And he was really just kind of downloading me about the feminine and masculine with respect to the tarot, with respect to the symbology, with respect to the major arcana and the minor arcana, and all of the sort of astrological and representational nuances of the images, like the magician and the justice card that you have in your background. I mean, it's fucking beautiful. And for me, in my life path, I have the life path of the 19-10-1. So 19 is the sun, 10 is the wheel of fortune, and 1 is the magician. So I have 3 life paths. So it's being the artist, it's also being the risk taker, and it's also being the energy, that cosmic energy of the sun, where the buck stops with me. I have to be an example, okay? And for me, you know, to be able to balance my being and doing, and to also be able to balance our suffering with pleasure is so key. And so in the masculine and feminine, and in my, I felt very privileged to work with Michael because he really encapsulated just so much of, you know, just kind of where I was in my own consciousness as a woman, as a mother, as a creator, as an artist, also as a facilitator of, you know, the worst atrocities of human upon humans, and endeavoring to integrate that for myself. I mean, it was intense. It was really intense. And one of the come to Jesus moments that I had was working with my own internal masculine. And so for me, I look very feminine. I'm very small. I love clothes and the whole 9 yards and all that kind of stuff, makeup. And, you know, I've had people attack me because I like wearing false eyelashes every now and again. Fuck off, you know, it's costume. Back off. What do you care? Who cares? I mean, you got tattoos, you got piercings, fuck off, you know? What difference does it make? But what was happening for me is there was a realization that if I am not in balance with my masculine and my feminine, what I will do is I will attract the opposite in my relationship. So I was, because I'm so good at being out in the world, I'm so good at taking care of business, good at this, good at that. What I was doing is I was attracting men and relationships where these men were not fully realizing their masculine. Why? Because I had it going on, you know, I had a fully realized masculine. And so I was kept attracting these more feminine men, you know, that were not directed, didn't know what the fuck they were doing. I mean, they were hot as fuck, but, you know, it's like at the end of the day, it's not a good partnership because it was keeping me stuck in this situation where my masculine was like on 24/7. Okay.
It was all of balance.
Yeah. And so part of the integration was me really understanding my mechanism of you can be out in the world and then you got to pull the reins back. I have to step into my feminine. And this is what a lot of the fake feminists and the man haters don't understand is that you hate men because your own internal masculine is running the fucking show and your feminine is like going, what about me? What about me? What about me? And more often than not, and this was the case for me, I was actually emasculating my masculine because I couldn't attract a man who could match me or be more masculine than my masculine. I wasn't allowing it. And so when I had that come to Jesus moment, and it was in the middle of a tarot session with Michael Tsarian, I remember thinking, oh my God, wow, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa. And I remember doing a process where I had to ask forgiveness of my own internal masculine, who's like, okay, I know you want to do all this shit. I really don't know what it is that you want, how you want it, but I can't do anything right. So I'm just doing everything, and so you have to get real. And, my poor internal masculine, I mean, I was like slave driving him to do this and this and this and this and this and this. And I was cutting his balls off at the same time. And my feminine was this really bitchy, cunty little thing because she was running the masculine all the time and never satisfied, didn't know what she wanted because she couldn't stop her movement long enough to really tune into what it was that she really, really, really wanted. And that happens in both men and women. And so now we're in, and of course you're in Canada. Okay. So one of my favorite towns, Toronto, I was stopped from doing a talk because I was given a list of the gender pronouns. And do you know about that? The gender pronouns with all the various pronouns of all the various genders, zerzims. I mean, I was looking at this going, holy fuck. And they wanted me to sign this piece of paper that I was going to be all inclusive. And I panicked. I'm just like, dude, I don't even know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to be talking about the integration of the masculine and feminine within men and women, males and females. And it was already offensive. So I was asked that I couldn't, to just give it up and not speak. So I didn't speak, but it made me realize the importance of this work of looking at the inner masculine and the inner feminine within each and every one of us, and how does it work? And it's not static, it's not a 50-50. Like there's some times when I have to be in my masculine in order to get some shit done. And then like if I'm with my partner, then because he's very manly, I need to have my masculine take the back seat so I can be more feminine, and we can have this very integrated,
harmonious,
sweet flowing. Yes. And then there's sometimes where he needs it to be the other way, where I'm taking the lead, I'm making a decision, I'm doing what I need to do for him. So it really is, it's not static, it's very dynamic, and it is according to what's unfolding in life at the very moment. Okay. That's where life directs what happens, not the matrix directing your life, but when you're consciously owning your attention and creating your reality moment to moment to moment, life is the director. and you answer to that.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So
So does that answer that? I mean, I know
absolutely.
I went on. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, absolutely.
But the asshole has no gender.
That's perfect. No, but it's a constant, I guess, work to balance it out. And yeah, you
It's
said
not
it, I guess.
not a one-off event. You know,
Yeah.
just like the whole awakening process.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not
some of the
okay.
stuff-
I'm awakened. It's
like,
over. Yeah.
no, it's constant. It's constant waking yourself up. Like us snooze all the time.
Yeah, and I always say that, you know, I'm so thankful by starting doing this and connecting with so many great people. You know, my level of consciousness skyrocket, and I learn so much, and I feel the energy, and I just love it. And I'm addicted to, you know, all this
That's so cool. That's so
work
cool. And that is a good addiction
network.
to have. You know what I mean?
Right?
Because
Yeah.
it's passion. It's passion. It's this, you know, it's an ongoing unfoldment. It's an ongoing awakening, a blossoming, if you will. That's constant. It's constant. You know, and here I am in my 60s. It's still happening. You know, whereas a lot of my friends who are like my age, I mean, they look like fucking train wrecks. It's like, oh my God, what happened? Like they're ready to fucking die. I mean, they might have their retirement fund and all that kind of stuff and have all the things, but they're unhealthy.
That's
You
right,
know, what's
because
the fucking point?
they don't really care about themselves. You know, they say they care, but they eat all this junk food or whatever habits
Yeah,
they have
yeah,
that is
yeah.
really unhealthy. Yeah, you said it also, to balance the pleasure with the suffering. I guess
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of people, maybe they don't really fully assess, you know, one or the other. So it's always
Yeah,
either, you know,
yeah.
they're trying to compensate with much more pleasure than they think they are
Exactly.
suffering a
And it's
lot.
not conscious. You know, there's no intention, there's no consciousness behind it. You know, so I know it's so I know that for myself, I witness things and it's like this. I gotta step away from the vehicle, move along, because I can feel myself when I get stuck observing the current frame of reality in the matrix. I can feel the suck of my consciousness. That
Right.
okay, I'm falling asleep. I'm starting to snooze because then I get enraptured by the shit show, and and then before I know it, I'm like oh shit, it's too late, and I was snoozing.
But just being able to acknowledge it is already a gift. It's already a big step in the process.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, just being that's it, being able to realize, am I really here? Am I not really here?
Yes, and that is a good template for really being able to track your attention. Like where are you? Where are you? What are you up to? And what are you not up to? You know?
Yeah. And being the master of yourself, you know, being the master of your decision. Talk about internal monarchy, or
Yes.
so yeah, and it's
It's the inner
constant battle.
king and queen, you know, that we as men and women, we have the internal king and the internal queen, you know, and then there's parts of us like, you know, I have an internal princess and a prince, man. And those two, I have to laugh because they're tricksters. They're tricksters for me because there's a part of me that and some of the sort of connections to them have these long little windy tendrils that go back into the fucking matrix, you know. And seduces me into thinking a certain way. And then when I'm not getting what I want, I get fucking bratty. And so that internal prince and princessa, or the contessa, you know, it's like, who are these? What are these little bits and pieces? And I those little bits and pieces that are still in the matrix that I'm tuned into, part of my sort of they're part of my haughty righteous indignation, you know, because I resided in that fucking hellhole for decades, checking out this stuff, and I just was like, yeah, I was just like gnashing and pulling my hair out and telling everybody to fuck off, you know, and I wasn't even having fun. At least I tell people to fuck off. I'm having fun now, but before I wasn't. And it was like, oh my God, can I just take a nap? I need to take a nap, because you get so embroiled in the this and the that, and then of course in the matrix you can't win. There's no winning. There's just this fight. It's a constant fight, and you can't create in it. It's not going to happen. You can trick yourself.
Well, you're not going to create any good, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I mentioned in the intro, you know, that you were the greatest honey bunny of all honey bunnies, and actually that's one of the things, you know, since my English is not perfect, and I'm you know, I'm listening to I'm working on my trivium process, so I looked at the grammar and I looked at the definition of honey bunny to see exactly if it was what it was actually, because I wasn't sure, and I took note. I found in the Urban Dictionary. Okay, that's the second most popular. I'm not making that up. Okay, so here it is. Honey bunny. I'm sorry.
I did not know that. So I'm learning something right now. That's wonderful.
Yeah, there's a definition. Okay, so a honey bunny is an incredible person, someone who cares genuinely about everyone, such as his family and friends, someone that is generous and forgiving, more than she should be, but forgiving nevertheless. Someone selfless and an amazing role model for children. Someone who allows you to see and feel the light of the world. A honey bunny is as sweet as honey and as cute as a bunny. Someone you'd want to keep in your life forever.
Aww.
That fit you or
what?
You're
so sweet. Oh my God. Thank you so much.
But that's real. I'm not making that up. That's a real
wonderful.
thing.
Well, you know, and for years, I've always been like this, you know, so I have memories of these childhood books. I don't know what they're called anymore. The name Beatrix Potter comes up, but you know, so there were all these little bunnies and all these little animals, fairies, and the Fey realm and all that kind of stuff. And of course, so now that I'm in my 60s and I'm of grandma age, right? It's never changed. I've always called people lovey doves, honey bunnies, sweethearts, darlings, love bugs, you know, because that's how I like it. I like to address people like that. And I think for me too, that like learning English was very difficult. And so for me to have these terms of endearment, you know, and not baby talk, like people are like, well, you're infantilizing. Fuck off. I'm not infantilizing. These are terms of endearment, because this is how I see my friends. This is how I see my students and my colleagues, people that I care about. You know, I like calling them honey bunnies and sweethearts and darlings and love bugs and lovey doves. I love it.
Don't stop.
You know,
don't stop.
It's part of who I am. If that bothers people, well,
fuck
too bad
off.
for you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, I think it would take 2 lifetimes to read. You know, you've written books, you've put out a lot of content to read, to watch, to integrate all the content that you've put out. I think it would be an easier method to proceed with the apophatic method. of learning or what you have not done by defining, you know,
Yes.
so what is on the to-do list that you have not done yet, because it will be easier to
So,
define what.
so on the to-do list, I'm actually in the process of doing that right now. I am in love with a man for the first time since 1994. And this is like, it's such a delight because it is actually my first truly conscious relationship with a man who's age appropriate, you know, so we're the same age. He's like 49 days older than me. We have a lot of the same woundings. We also have a lot of the same, we have the same moral compass, which I think is very important. And even though he's not part of the truth and freedom sovereignty, he has the same ideals as me and comes from a place where it is really very much in his heart. And the other thing too is that because we're the same age, we grew up in the same sort of musical scene, like, you know, so I'm a piano player, and our first date was a motorcycle ride, and this was last summer, and it was so amazing because he had just bought a piano, so a digital piano. So I'm at the piano, and I play this. I also play the violin, and I was very into Jean-Luc Ponty, who's French.
Okay.
Do you know Jean-Luc Ponty?
No,
Oh, check it out. So
I will.
I'm playing this, not on the violin, but on the piano, and he knew it. He fucking knew the tune. I was just like, are you for real? Like, what? You know, and then going fast on the motorcycle, you know, and so this is the last frontier for me. And so to unfold this loving, sweet connection and allowing it to unfold and blossom, like, you know, like, whoa, it's pretty cool. It's really, really cool because I talk about the divine partnership of the masculine and feminine and men and women. And it doesn't matter, straight, gay, bi, whatever, because there's always a masculine and a feminine component in relationship, regardless of what your sex is.
In everything, actually.
Yes. So we have this development that's like happening, and you know, and it's so funny, he's not on social media, so nobody knows about him. You know, I don't really talk about him, but since you asked, you know, and he's just the fucking coolest. It's just the coolest. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that's like the new thing. And what's great about it is that it is actually the culmination of my first book. And so it's like this coming full circle of this theory that I had about divine partnership. You instill that and you anchor that with yourself first. And when you're able to complete it, bring it to its fruition to where the next, in other words, you're quantum jumping your lifeline from this sort of theoretical thing because you're developing yourself, you're developing self-love and self-respect and self-esteem and receiving esteem from within who you are because you're lined up in your integrity. And then, you know, it's like at the beginning of last year when I created the channel, I remember thinking, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for a relation. I hadn't been in a relationship in a very, 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 very long years and years. you know, I mean, even when I was co-parenting my last stepchild, it wasn't really a relationship. So it doesn't even count, really. Doesn't. And so I was putting out the feelers and I'm like ready. I'm like ready. Like who knew? And it was so unexpected, you know, because it developed very, very, very slowly and just kind of like out of the blue, like, you know, and it was because I was ready, because I had already done the work and was, you know, it's like you have to be in acceptance of being able to stand alone, like what we were talking about earlier, you know, that if you're going to do this work and you're going to put out content, you need to practice having shit thrown your way, having no agreement, having people tell you you're full of shit and, you know, they don't want to listen to you, or maybe there's 3 people listening to you or whatever. I don't care. I really don't care. You know, I don't care. And so when you're doing the whole relationship work too, you have to commit. And especially I think for women, because we are the gatekeepers to conscious presence. And I tell this to women, you have to be discerning what kind of person you allow in your life, let alone in your body, because there's so much toxic sexuality in the matrix, and it's you know, shrouded in this fake tundra love and light crap. And these people they're toxic. Okay, their dicks are toxic, their vaginas are toxic. There, I said it. Oh my God, you know, bring it on. Because there has to be a purifying process of all of that programming, because everybody that we're with, conscious or not conscious, that creates a resonance within your body, within your vagina, within your penis, that is substantive, and it stays there until you consciously do the work, do the great work, and you unwind that shit. Because if you don't unwind it, everybody you're with, you are going to be passing on every bit of misery that you have taken on from the people that you've had sex with and all the people they've had sex with, and so on and so on. So the mathematical calculations that you do of the shit that could go wrong and can go down and will go wrong and go down, and the shit, the programming within the matrix that you're going to pass on over and over and over and over again, because you can't stand to be by yourself, or you got to chase the latest orgasm or skirt or whatever it is that you're chasing. Yeah. So you have to be face to face. So I tell men and women, you have to be able to stand on your own. You have to be able to, if you're addicted to sex, you have to be able to stop in your tracks and find out what is behind that. So, you know, that's part of doing the great work, you know.
See beyond
a lot of people don't want it. I've been accused of being a prude, of being dysfunctional, whatever. I go, yeah, I have been dysfunctional. I have been. You know, when you have sexual abuse in your history, there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of ugly little rabbit holes that you have to dive into, and there's shitty, smelly, awful shit, and you got to get real. And you've got to excavate that, and you can't excavate that if you're fucking your brains out, you know, incessantly, indiscriminately, because all you're doing is you're adding more toxic frequencies into your body. And it's just going to take longer and longer to get clear and purify. And I really believe that's one of the reasons why the matrix is such a miserable fucking place for men and women who are stuck in these fucked up relationships just because they want to get laid. You know,
that's right. And I'm currently, you know, in a process of breaking up with the mother of my daughter. Okay. And you know, I've watched a few of your episodes about conscious celibacy, and that really helped you know, figure out a lot of things in my life. So I'm really thankful, and I really love your show. That's pretty much the time we had, but thank you so much for your wisdom, for your time, Marja. It was great. It was fun.
I'm enjoying your work. I'm enjoying what I'm really enjoying about you is that there is this like full on innocent, but like you're just like right there in your discoveries. It's authentic. And you can't fake authenticity. You can't fake
That's it. That's pretty much what I'm trying to convey. Also a message. You know, I don't care if people like what I'm doing or not. I'm having fun and I'm growing and I'm learning. So yeah, I'm not faking being authentic because you know that's really I have genuine fun making this and being on the path to truth and connecting with so many great people. It's just a fun journey, and I really enjoy and just being you know the recognition I got from Mark on his network. It was like
yeah
a blessing. It was a crazy feeling, and it's just fun connecting with all these people. So thank you very much, Marja.
Beautiful. You're welcome.
We're gonna have a part 2 for sure very soon.
Anytime, sweetheart.
Thanks.
Anytime.
Old pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ship. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. But my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption song.